scale is creeping up. And again, you don't want it to. You don't want to gain weight. You don't want to see your waist circumference increase. It's natural to think, okay, I need to diet. That's what our culture has taught us, right? As women, diet, eat less. So you see a lot of these trendy diets. And when you start these diet programs, 99% of them are putting your calories way below what you should be eating. And they're also telling you to do very restrictive things that's going to initially help you lose weight, but in the process, it's going to downregulate that powerhouse, which is your metabolism. When your metabolism downregulates, what that means is it's simply just not functioning efficiently anymore.
Hello, and welcome to the Empower Journey of You podcast, where we'll explore the intersection of health, entrepreneurship, and navigating a multi-passionate life. In this episode, I sit down with Ashley Fillmore. She's a sustainable weight loss coach, a mom of two, entrepreneur, and a podcast host. She has over 18 years in the fitness industry. And let me tell you, she drops all of her knowledge in this episode. We talk a lot about metabolism, how to feel your best, and the consequences of dieting, and really how amazing maintenance phase can be, both in your fitness and your health and in your life. So if you don't know what we're talking about, definitely listen in and we'll explain exactly what we mean. Ashley also is hosting a sustainable weight loss 8-week boot camp group coaching program. And this program is for women who are sick and tired of the crash and burn of traditional diets and want to lose 10 to 20 pounds sustainably. So it's starting this month in January, later in January, and the waitlist is open. So I hope you enjoy this episode. I love talking to Ashley. She has so much wisdom on life and is so busy like the rest of us, but is really open about making her health be a part of her lifestyle. Just like she wants for her clients, she is living proof that it is possible to love the way you look, love the way you feel, and still be an amazing mother, still be an amazing coach, an amazing wife. And this episode is really for the women out there today. So, all right, let's get into it. Ashley and I met through our friend Meg Ulaney. We were both in a mastermind with her and obviously connected right away because we do similar things. But Ashley, thanks so much for being here. And do you want to introduce yourself a little bit too?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's so great to see you and, just catch up with you. Right. We go way back to Meg's mastermind and we had the opportunity to meet in person, which was amazing. And we got to know each other. And so it's really cool. And for all of those listening in, yep, my name is Ashley and I'm a sustainable weight loss coach, but I really do dive a lot deeper than just the surface level, eat this, do this workout and lose weight. We go a lot deeper. And we work on a lot of things to get a client to their transformation. I'm a big believer that we determine what our happy and healthy weight is. For some women, it could be a size 4, a size 6, a size 16. The number really doesn't matter to me. The scale doesn't dictate how wonderful you are. And it really is all about you determining where you feel your absolute best. No one can do that for you. So I focus in on that. Along with that, I have a podcast. I'm a mom. I have 2 little girls. They're 5 and 8 years old. One just started kindergarten, one's in 3rd grade. So I'm like really in the thick of motherhood right now. And we just made a big move, which I know we're going to talk a lot about, but we moved to Florida, moved from traded the mountains for the water. It's been an amazing experience, but there were some twists and turns, which I think we're going to get into today. But yeah, I'm really grateful to be here, share a bit about what I do as a coach and with my business Metabolic Fix, and then just mom life and all of the things.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you are really into, the science of weight loss and holistic approach. And can you just tell us a little bit about the metabolism and why, especially for women, it can be more difficult to kind of get a hold of?
Yeah. No, I think that's a phenomenal question. So I want to break this down because I do think a lot of times, especially when you're looking at things online, things can be overcomplicated. It's just very complicating. You look at it, you don't really understand what they're saying. You don't really know, what does this even mean? And to be really honest with you, a lot of times when I speak with women, they really don't know what the metabolism even is. And by the way, if you don't, that's totally normal. I mean, most women don't. It's not like you can pinpoint that organ when you look at a diagram of the human body and say, oh, yeah, like there's your liver. And so I think a lot of times when it comes to that, we feel very ashamed to even talk about that too, because it's like, I don't know what's going on with my body. I feel things shifting. I'm not sure why. I'm hearing this word metabolism, all of these things about hormones. What are your hormones? What is the metabolism? And so a big part of what I like to do at my company, Metabolic Fix, which is really on brand with everything we're going to talk about, I really dive into one, giving women the education that they need to feel empowered to make informed decisions with their health. So I break things down in very simple terms. So when it comes to your metabolism, the one thing that I want for you to know if you're listening in is your metabolism is essentially the powerhouse that's controlling how your body breaks down the calories you consume. So all of the foods we consume is your calories, which is being broken down into energy for our bodies to use for basic organ function, for our activity, for breathing, for doing the day-to-day activities and tasks that it needs to do. Regenerating tissue, healing muscle, building muscle, growing hair, healing your skin, reducing inflammation. When you have metabolic damage, and this is when your metabolism just down regulates and starts burning fewer calories than it should. So all of us, me, you, everyone listening, has a BMR, which is a basal metabolic rate. It's a simple calculation that's going to tell you how many calories you need to consume to just sustain basic organ function, breathing, and living. It doesn't take into consideration your activity. It doesn't take into consideration your hour walks or whatever else you're doing. And so you actually need more than that, but your BMR is a number that all women should know. You can simply look online and figure out that calculation. Some of the information you're going to get about it can be not accurate, so be careful. But if you find a good source, you can figure out your BMR. And then the thing is when you are, let's say, under eating, or maybe you hit 35 and your hormones start shifting and you start noticing that your midsection's getting thicker or the scale is creeping up. And again, you don't want it to. You don't want to gain weight. You don't want to see your waist circumference increase. It's natural to think, okay, I need to diet. That's what our culture has taught us, right? As women, diet, eat less. So you see a lot of these trendy diets. And when you start these diet programs, 99% of them are putting your calories way below what you should be eating. And they're also telling you to do very restrictive things that's going to initially help you lose weight, but in the process, it's going to downregulate that powerhouse, which is your metabolism. When your metabolism downregulates, what that means is it's simply just not functioning efficiently anymore. Your body's not able to break down the calories you're consuming well anymore. And instead of using those calories for all of the wonderful things it should be, it's conserving it because your body doesn't know when you're going to feed it enough again. And so it's holding on to it and it's shifting those calories to your fat cells. And that means you're going to see the scale go up. You may start to see your muscle mass go down. And you're going to notice that your clothes aren't fitting as well because you are gaining body fat. But the beauty in that is this. And so don't get discouraged if you're thinking, I'm dieting, this is me, is your metabolism can also upregulate. So it's almost like it's going to match you. It can take time to get it to upregulate again, but it will start to upregulate when you start eating enough and you get your body out of that starvation mode. It's going to upregulate. So your metabolism is essentially what is controlling how your body breaks down the calories you consume. All of the foods you eat and drink are calories. That's energy. Yep. Some energy sources are better. Some aren't as clean. It's not good or bad. We just need to think of food as some foods are going to fuel our bodies. Some are going to taste really great, but not offer a whole lot of nutritional value. And that's okay sometimes too. So that's really your metabolism and how it works. It can upregulate, it can downregulate, but when it downregulates, that's when we start to see unnecessary weight gain, lower energy levels, less muscle mass on our frame, inability to build muscle mass. Sometimes your periods can start to get irregular or stop altogether. You're simply just tired. Your libido is not there at all. So it's almost like everything just shifts down and you just simply don't feel your best. And so you can do things that will help your body upregulate your metabolism. And we can even talk about that if you'd like, but there's a lot of things you can do to reverse that and get your metabolism in a healthy place. So regardless of if you're 30, 40, 50, 60, or even beyond that, you still have a very healthy your metabolic health is great. Your metabolism is healthy. You feel great. You have great energy. And most importantly, you like the way that you look and feel.
Mm-hmm. It's all about energy, really, isn't it? Our culture, like you said, you want to lose weight, eat less. But actually, it's the opposite. You want to add more fuel to the fire, and thinking of like literally a pit of fire, like with wood and you're burning a fire. The more wood you put in, the bigger it's going to grow. And that's really what I like to think about with metabolism. The more that you have, the more calories you have, the more that you can burn because your body's like, oh, sweet. I'm being fed. I'm safe to burn these calories. Like, this is great, And I think, I'm just so happy that you're out here and we could talk about your sustainable weight loss group boot camp that's coming up in January. And like, what are you going to be doing with these women who come to you and they want to lose weight, they've dieted forever, but they feel stuck? What's the process that is going to happen?
Yeah, so we have a system and a formula that, I've been using now for 18 years. Through trial and error, I started my career right out of college. I've always worked with women, primarily women. I will say in my early days of getting started, I worked with some athletes. I do have a strength and conditioning certification as well and specialize in that. But as I've gotten older, got married, started a family, my direction and interest started to shift. And very early on, I'll be honest, I realized actually through just working hands-on with women that for some reason, the whole eat less, exercise more just really wasn't working well. And to be honest, it wasn't working for me either. At that time, I was in my early 20s. I was very much so caught in the dieting trap, even though I actually knew better. I had the knowledge to make different choices. But I will say when I became a personal trainer, I had low self-esteem. I was right out of college. I felt like I needed to fit the mold of every personal trainer, every nutritionist on every magazine. So I felt like I needed to look like them. I didn't feel like I looked that way. And I felt like, well, if I start doing the diets that they're doing, if I start doing all of these intense workouts, if I start doing, Whole30 or keto or whatever everyone else is doing, I will look that way. I ended up never looking exactly like any of them. If anything, I just ended up with disordered eating habits, metabolic damage. So as I just explained, my metabolism downregulated. Every symptom I went over, I had. And also, I had a lot of just really disordered eating habits. It took a lot of years for me to get through that. Those are some consequences that I was not fully aware of when I was dieting. I didn't know that all of that was going to happen. So I was going through my own struggles, and simultaneously, I was watching many women that came into the studio to work with me going through their struggles. And so then I started to say, okay, there's more to this because the whole eat less, work out more thing isn't really working. I'm doing that at 100% accuracy right now. And that's not serving me. I can't build muscle. My energy is horrible. My hormones are wrecked. I had severe adrenal fatigue. And then I was seeing women that were eating less and gaining weight, my clients. They were working out 3 to 5 days a week and not seeing the scale move. So through trial and error, I started to see and learn what actually did work. And that's when I was going through my advanced certifications on hormonal and metabolic health. So I specialize in hormonal and metabolic health as it pertains to sustainable weight loss. And so I started to connect all of these dots and was like, okay, we can't just starve ourselves thin. We can't just exercise every day and, that's going to be the magic answer. We have to eat in a way that's going to support our metabolism and our hormones. And I didn't realize until I got in my 30s how much that really meant. Because once you get in your mid 30s and beyond, I have many clients in their 40s, 50s, your hormones shift more and you see how important it is to truly start eating in a way that supports your hormones and your metabolism. So when a woman comes into my community, they initially are going to get a full-on assessment and we're going to determine which phase they start in. We have the repair phase, the rebuild phase, and the results phase. The repair phase is where we're going to double down on hormonal health, metabolic health, so your metabolism, making sure your metabolism is healthy. If not, we're going to do what we need to do to ensure that your metabolism gets healthy. We can also do Dutch testing. So that is a functional test to really take a deeper look into your hormones. That's something that I offer through my company. So if a client is worried about perimenopause or, they're very concerned about their cortisol levels or potentially estrogen dominance, there's lots of big words I'm throwing out here, but they're worried about that, we can actually test them and I can see what's going on. And so that's the repair phase. We got to take care of that stuff before we move on to a weight loss or a fat loss journey for a client. The rebuild phase, we really double down on ensuring the client has that foundation built, that they actually are eating enough, that they're training correctly, that their mindset's in a great place. Hormonally, they're in a much better place. Their metabolic health is in a much better place. Their metabolism is now upregulated. And then the result phase is for someone that doesn't have metabolic damage, doesn't have underlying hormonal issues, is eating plenty, maybe someone like yourself that's really knowledgeable, how to eat healthy foods, you're in a great place with things, then, someone like you would be ready for the results phase. And that's where we go through, for many women, the first ever sustainable fat loss phase. And it is a totally different experience because you're not cutting out your carbs, you're not restricting all of your favorite foods, you're not working out hours a day, you're not eating like dried chicken breast and green beans. And so it is effort, but it looks different from any diet that a client has ever done that comes into my world. And so from there, they lose weight. And then we're also guiding and teaching the client on how to maintain, because less than, when we look at people, 95% of people regain their weight. And so someone in my field, that's a very disturbing stat. We have to work around that. And so I spend time coaching on maintenance. What do you do once you lose the weight? You can't stay in that deficit. What are we going to do? And we start making changes to ensure that they're eating enough again, they're out of the deficit. And again, they have that foundation of maintenance built. And so the weight loss program is going to teach someone how to navigate through their transformation in a customized way, even though it's a group coaching program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, those phases, the repair, rebuild, and the results are huge because obviously we all want the results right away.
Yeah.
You can't get there if you haven't been eating enough, if you haven't been giving yourself enough calories and energy to lose the weight. So it is such I love going through this process with my clients too, because it's just such a learning experience. And it really opens your mind of like, oh, this is what it looks like to feel full. Or like, it's insane. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's really an amazing process because you finally get to lead a client through something that's sustainable and lasting but it's such a different experience. And, it really goes against what we've been preached for the last 30, 40 years as a culture. There are many women in their 40s and 50s that are fearful of eating fat because they're afraid it's going to make them gain weight. They are afraid to lift weights because it's going to make them bulky and big. They feel like, even women in their 20s and 30s, like, I need to do cardio because that's how I burn fat, and I don't really need to lift weights. Can't eat a lot. If I go into my Fitness Pal, which I just did a little test the other day, I haven't done this in a long time. Back in my dieting days, I did though. And I put in, like, I wanted to lose a half a pound a week or a pound a week. The calories and macros that it gave me back, I mean, my mouth hit the floor. I'm like, oh my goodness, there are actually women right now in this very second that's using this free device and system. They're putting in, I want to lose. And, most women aren't going to put a half a pound. They're going to put, like, what, the maximum. Who wouldn't, right? If they have weight to lose and they want to feel better. It put me under my BMR. So that number that I shared, that was so critical for us to ensure that we're eating at least to that number, which you should be eating more, by the way. But, let's just get baselined at there. It put me below that number by 250 calories.
That's so dangerous.
That is so dangerous. And my exercise was to 5 and 6 days a week. So I wanted to go on the extremes because I'm thinking, a lot of women, if you're not feeling great right now and you are not fitting in your clothes or your confidence isn't there and you're just not feeling like the best version of yourself, when you go to open that app, you're probably not going to put in, I'm going to work out 1 day a week and I want to lose a half a pound, right? I mean, you're going to go hard initially. Be like, okay, I'm going to go work out every day and I want to lose the maximum amount of weight that it tells me I can lose. And so when I did that, it was shocking. I have no idea where those calculations are coming from, truly, on any level. Like, I have no idea. And I'm open to debating, discussing, but I just have no idea. Like, there's no research I've ever read that said and indicated that that is safe. All of the research shows that if you eat under your BMR, even before that, but we'll talk about the BMR, that your metabolism will downregulate and you will conserve energy. So that means your body will store the calories you're consuming for body fat to utilize for later, just in case if you don't eat again. It's literally knocking your body into starvation mode. And that's also going to downregulate your energy levels, your mood, your libido, because why would you want to conceive when you're in a state of what your body is seeming to think is starvation? Right. And so I just have no idea. I'm like, where is the research to support that?
Here's the thing. I mean, someone might lose some weight in the first 2 weeks, but after that, yeah, you're donezo. Like, I don't think you're going to get anywhere. Okay. So I want to pivot to the maintenance phase because you've shared that you are basically in maintenance. Like, you live in maintenance, which I think is such an amazing place to be for everybody, right? To really love the way you look, feel like you're at your set weight. But know that you can eat whatever you want, do whatever you want, but you have the basics and the foundation to maintain your weight. And what do I mean by maintenance is you're not really seeing much fluctuation in the scale. You have a really grounded outlook on what I need to be eating to maintain the weight. That's basically maintenance, right? You're not losing, you're not gaining.
Right.
So for you, I mean, you need to go and see Ashley on Instagram and on social media. She is just ripped, so strong, just goals, goals, goals. But how do you maintain your weight right now? And what are some like key points that you would want to share with someone who is maybe looking to maintain, but maybe shape up a bit as well?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you very much for saying that. To be honest with you, I am just like every other woman. Every day there's things that I don't like about my body, but it's in a loving way. It's more in a, hey, I'm not perfect. I'm perfectly imperfect and I am okay with where my body is. I had 2 children. I feel better than I did before having children. Sure, if I want to play the comparison game, there's always going to be someone I can find that looks better, fitter, whatever. But you know what? I'm happy with where I am. And that means for me being okay with being imperfect.
Mm-hmm.
But owning it, and if anything, it's made me more confident. And so my confidence has nothing to do with the scale number. I rarely ever get on the scale anymore. And when I do, it's always pretty much the same thing, which is great to see. And that's kind of the feedback I'm looking for into maintaining. So I actually don't track my food a lot personally at this phase because I am in maintenance. Interestingly, it's interesting you brought this up because yesterday I actually just started tracking my food again. I haven't tracked since my personal retreat. I hosted a retreat in April, and it was a small retreat with some of my one-on-one coaching clients. And, I tracked up until the retreat because a couple times a year I'll track because I just want to go through it with my clients. I don't want to lose touch. Everything I share is really based off of also my experiences and my personal experience and professional. And so I want to see what it feels like for my clients that have children, that are entrepreneurs, that are working. So I will force myself to track, not because I have a goal right now, more because I'm telling them to do it. So I want to also make sure I can do it. And if I'm struggling to do it, I probably need to change the way I'm coaching because how is that mom of two like me going to keep up? And so I just started to track again. But it's a totally different experience than before because, yes, I'm eating at maintenance. And so for me, it really does vary. I would say I intuitively eat. So, 90% of the year, I will intuitively eat. So, what does that mean? That means I'm not tracking my food. I'm not measuring out my foods. I am just intuitively based off of the knowledge that I have building healthy plates. And so, I'm loading up on protein. I am eating carbs at every meal. Now, for women that maybe don't know me, I am petite, but I have a lot of muscle mass. And so I carry a lot of muscle mass. My caloric need and carbohydrate need is pretty high to be in my mid 30s now. And so I'm taking advantage of that. And I do lift frequently and I've done a lot to build muscle mass, but I eat carbs at, all of my meals. Maybe a snack or so I won't have carbs, but there's usually not a meal that I don't have carbs, which is not something that I used to do. Years ago, I ate no carbohydrates. And I eat quite a bit of fat. And so, it really does depend on what I'm doing and where my numbers are. But I would say, on average, I never eat below 2,200 calories, but sometimes it's definitely up to 2,500 calories or even a little more. And my weight will stay the same. And so, what I have focused on though is really just building my meals, focusing on protein. I do eat clean foods, I would say 90% of the time, not because I'm on a diet, not because I'm trying to lose weight, because I'm actually not. And I absolutely despise crash diets now, but it's more, I need to feel good. I have a business to run. I have, my podcast. I have two children that need me at 100% in this phase of parenting. I have a husband. And honestly, I just want to feel good for myself, like not selfishly, but I deserve to feel good for me. And so I eat foods and do things that really help me feel good. And that's a question I had to start asking myself earlier on when I was in my 20s is, does this make me feel good? And to be honest, through my dieting days, like I never felt good. I was miserable. I was obsessed with calories. I was obsessed with macros in a very unhealthy way. My body, I was almost 20 pounds lighter, which is hard for me to believe, closer to like 100 pounds. And I wasn't in a healthy spot. I struggled to build muscle mass. I mean, yeah, I had abs at certain points because I weighed, practically 100 pounds. So for me, it's really asking myself that question. Strength training is a huge part of my maintenance plan. I lift weights 4 days per week very consistently. I do show myself grace if I'm sick or the kids are sick or life is happening. And I try to walk, most days of the week. Again, just because I live in Florida, it's really pretty here. And it's great for my mental health. similar to your work, I sit a lot. And so to balance all of that out, I do have to get up and move around, or I will get in minimal steps every single day. So, that's a lot of what I do to just ensure that I'm taking care of myself. I find it to be really easy. The holidays are no worry. I don't stress about them at all. Vacations. And honestly, this is what I really do want for my clients. It's not in a bragging because none of it came easy. I worked really hard to get here. I went through all three phases, just like everyone in my community does. But it's a great place to be in. It's a truly great place to be in, and
Yeah.
it's sustainable. And that's what's most important to me is that as a busy full-time working mom with two kids, it's sustainable and I feel better than I did when I was 20. So can't beat that.
Right, right. What more can you ask for? And I think it's really important that your girls see you, you know, not talking about dieting, not worrying about food. Like, man, I think there's so many women that had other women in their lives when they were growing up, kind of unconsciously putting these thoughts in our head that you need to be small, like smaller is better, just even women having more muscle is something pretty new, you know, that I think some people are still getting used to, especially like maybe like the older generation.
Yeah.
I think that's so important as well.
Yeah, I agree. And I do think a lot about that, with my daughters that watch me all the time, everything that I do, everything that I eat. I mean, they watch me all the time. And a lot of times they're watching my actions more than my words. I'll tell them things, but they really watch my actions and I'll then hear them repeat things. I actually went into my daughter's third grade class and did a presentation about my work and how I
Oh,
help people. And, obviously I broke it down in a third grade level so they can understand on a base level what I do. And I felt really great because it was coming from not only professionally am I happy with the way that I'm, helping women all around the world. It was from a personal place of, I'm very happy as well with what I'm personally doing and how I'm showing up. And so, yeah, with my girls, they'll ask me questions about food and, is this healthy or what do you think of this? And, we don't really call food unhealthy or healthy. It's more, this is a sometimes food. This isn't all the time food. Sometimes foods are sometimes foods because we need to eat lots of other food that gives us better energy. We talk about food as in being fuel and not so much calories, like this will give you good energy. Well, you'll eat this. It may taste really great, but you may not have great energy after. That's okay. Like, Harper will be like, oh, mom, I had, pizza and ice cream and a piece of cake at the birthday party and I feel tired. I'm like, well, sometimes when you eat foods like that, they taste great, but you may feel a little tired afterwards. And we just leave it to that. And I'm just like, that's why it's a sometimes food. And we move on. We don't talk about pant size and the doctors will weigh. And, she says like if she's 55 point 0.5, she says 555 pounds. She doesn't understand the numbers yet. I'm just like, yep. And she's like, is that a good number? I'm like, that's a great number. I was like, the number really doesn't matter. It's more how you feel. And that's what I really try and tell women. I am a petite woman. I'm 5'4". I have a petite frame, but I really worked hard to stay smaller when I was dieting. And I really had to give up on that. And I just said, my body will figure out where it needs to be. I'm going to eat well. I'm going to get my hormones balanced. I'm going to heal my metabolism. I'm going to stop doing all this cardio. I'm going to start lifting weights. And wherever I land is my healthy weight and happy weight. I didn't actually pick the number. I
right.
didn't pick the set point. My body picked it for me.
Yes.
And that's the way it works for me. So that's what I try and teach my clients. And, how often do we set these numbers, right? Oh, I want to lose 40 pounds. Well, maybe you lose 20 and you love the way you look. Maybe you lose all of it and you still want to build muscle. And so I think, just strive for a feeling. And that feeling is going to be enough to say, hey, you're there. Or, hey, I still have a little work that I want to do.
Yeah. And I think using macros as a tool, like you said, you've been tracking forever. It's
Yeah.
something that can help you along the way throughout our whole entire lives just to check in and be like, oh, this is how much I should be eating. And that's why I personally love macros and introducing them to people too, because it's just, again, such a learning experience of, oh, this is how much I should be eating. And then you see it, you see your plate, and then you also feel the energy. So it's like you get double whammy feedback of
Yeah.
what you could be doing and how to sustain that. Um,
Exactly. I love it too. I couldn't, that's the number one method when I'm working clients through phases and through their transformation or healing their metabolism and even hormonal stuff.
mhm,
We do utilize macro tracking, and that's the number one way to learn how to eat balanced for your body and your specific needs. There's no container system or point system or fasting protocol that's going to put things dialed into that level. It's just impossible. And so that's what I love about macros. You can tweak them based off of your biofeedback and you can get really, really dialed in. And so I personally love it. And I love that if you have been a dieter, you're probably used to excluding food groups, either it be carbs or fats or protein even. And with macros, you're really eating all three food groups. And so you start to introduce things that maybe you haven't had, like carbs or fats. And
mhm,
you see, like, you need all three food groups to feel your best.
mhm. And then also learning strategies, how to pair those together to
Yeah.
make, utilize the nutrients and giving you that will give you the energy as well. So like for instance, pairing the carbs with some protein. It's
Yeah.
always going to help you, break it down more and actually use the energy instead of storing it. So like just little things like that are so cool. Like I nerd out about all these things.
Yeah. I know. And we even talked about some of this in our car ride back in Vegas about
Yes.
metabolism and,
Mm-hmm.
calories and just all of the different things. Like it's really fascinating too when you can look at it from just the viewpoint that we are and start thinking like, okay, how can I eat more to fuel my body? Am I eating enough? In the way, instead of thinking, oh, I need to eat a little less. Maybe I need to eat a little less. Start asking the question, am I eating enough?
100%.
Really,
Yeah.
it's just so different. Our culture is like, no, you need to eat less. So you ask yourself, how do I eat less? Right. You're not really walking around for most women saying, oh, how do I eat more today? Or how do I ensure that I'm eating enough? Those aren't really words that we're using. It's less, less, less.
Yeah. Um, I'm in Costa Rica right now, as I told you, and as we're recording this, but that's something I've been struggling with here is like I need to get calories in because I I had been working out pretty hard at the gym coming maybe, 3 to 4 months before this trip, but I wanted to take a break, obviously, from lifting, but I wanted to be doing yoga. And this is what I'm doing yoga, just being really active. I'm learning to surf. Um, I've just been walking everywhere, but still I'm like, all right, well, I want to maintain this muscle. So I need to make sure I'm eating protein. I'm not tracking, but also like good carbs. And of course, in Costa Rica, everything that you eat is super fresh. And I can just tell that the food is good. It's better. My skin is, oh my gosh, like just glowing and is more clear. And it's been a really cool experiment to see how can I sustain my level of activity and also like my physique while traveling. And I took a before picture, maybe like 2 days before I left for Costa Rica. And I'm gonna take a after just to see like, what, did anything change? Uh
Yeah.
we did my friend and I did find a gym because he's also really into fitness and he's like, we were just like, we just want to get a pump on. Like we missed it. We missed that lifting. So we did find a gym and we had a great workout. But I think that's the key to staying consistent is really craving the end result. And I'm sure that you can attest to this. It doesn't matter really how you get there, feeling good, loving the way you look. It's like just make it happen.
Exactly. I agree. I couldn't agree more. And
Mhm.
I think it's so cool that you're doing this and you can share that experience with your own clients and your audience. And, again, I think that it doesn't have to be so complicated. We
Right.
can feel great. We can look great. We can, have great skin and a great body and still have muscle. We don't have to be killing ourselves every day in the gym and, barely eating anything. And,
Yeah.
again, tracking's a great tool, but it's a tool. It's not something you have to do for the rest of your life. And, your goal should always be to learn how to build these plates on your own eventually. So you can go on a trip to Costa Rica and say, hey, I'm not going to track for the time that I'm there. I'm just going to enjoy myself. I know how to eat a healthy plate, and I'm very confident that I'm going to be able to maintain where I am. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's really where we all want to be. So I think that's cool that you can share that and say, hey, you should definitely do a after photo to just, even if it's for your own documentation, just to be like, hey, this is where I am, this trip, who knows how it could have went, but this is the way it actually ended up going.
Mm-hmm. And
Very
seeing
cool.
everybody in bathing suits, right? More often, just because that's life here, you really notice that there's all types of different bodies and they're all amazing. They're all beautiful. We tend to just see the hypersexualized, super skinny, super, small versions that it's just not reality. And I think, really working on that thought of that's just the fitness industry, like make money off of us,
Yeah.
really helped me too. Like you say, you have days where you're like, you could pick yourself apart, but at the end of the day, who cares? Like it's all BS, honestly.
Yeah, it really is. And to be honest, no one's perfect. And I don't mean that in a mean way or a bad way, but I think that we have this just photoshopped, filtered version, plastic surgery version. And again, each to their own. There's no shade on any of that. But I think we do have that image, and a lot of women are looking to that now and feeling like that's the norm. And if you don't look that way, then you're not enough. And I just don't believe that. And I think it's definitely okay to do whatever you want to do to your body. But I do think that there are other women on the other side that's maybe looking in, not really knowing the full story or thinking about it in that moment and saying, oh, I'm not as pretty, as fit. My waist isn't as, lean, or I haven't had kids and I don't even look that way or whatever. And I agree with you. I think that you don't have to be muscular to be pretty. You don't have to be a size 2 to be pretty. I think all shapes and sizes are beautiful and accepted. And here in Florida as well, in general, women just wear less clothes because it's so hot. I mean, you can't walk around in a sweater when it's 100 degrees outside some days. And you kind of see that there are different sizes and shapes, and all are beautiful. And something I've noticed a bit more here is there is a bit more confidence too, which makes me so happy. Is just like finally seeing women of all shapes and sizes being confident, because growing up in my culture, at least, unless you were rail thin, you were not pretty or accepted. I mean, that was kind of the standard. I remember, family members drinking Slim Fast for 2 meals a day. I was a little girl, I drank one of them because it looked cool, and I'm like, this is the worst thing ever. I didn't even finish it. I think I like dumped it out and hid it in the back of the trash can because I didn't want anyone to know. I'd imagine those little things were pretty expensive back then because it was like a weight loss supplement. But I'm like, oh, like that's what, I know many women would drink those 2 times a day and just have one meal. And so again, they were striving for that super thin, like nothing there, no curves look. And so I think that we have evolved, but I think it's important for us, especially with me being in the weight loss field, to just continue to reiterate that all shapes and sizes are pretty. I'm not here to say that you need to be any size. That's up to you, the woman, to determine. And also realizing that it's okay if you actually don't want to be a size 4 or 6 or whatever. Like you can be whatever size you want, and that can be great too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Whatever your lifestyle calls for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Let's pivot to entrepreneurship for a hot second. I know we've been talking for a really long time. I like lost track of time. But you said you just moved
Yeah.
to Florida, and it was interesting because this was really the first time that you kind of paused on any mentorship or masterminds of launching, having new products, new ways to make money. And how was that journey for you of really just kind of taking a step back, or not
not pushing, but more in a again, phase of maintenance.
Yeah. No, it's actually been a really wonderful experience. And I say that, but at first I definitely had tears, just
Mm.
kind of doing things a little bit differently. I've been doing this now for, 18 plus years, but the last 5 years have just been pedal to the metal, especially when I moved my company online. So I became an entrepreneur and started my company in 2015 as soon as I had my first daughter, and then moved it online right after I had my second daughter. So I was simultaneously raising an infant, a 3-year-old, and building a company. Lots of fun times there. And so it's just kind of pedal to the metal. And I think I had so much on the line that I wasn't willing to back off until my life changed very intentionally. We decided to have a big move. We just wanted a change of pace. We wanted a new experience. We were ready. Our kids are little. And so we just took the opportunity and fell in love with Florida, and just really decided that it was the place for us. I realized really quickly, though, never having moved before, I thought it was going to be easy peasy, but let's just say there were challenges, which are normal, especially with two small kids. And I just decided that, I was going to take really great care of every client that was in my community. And, sure, if people came in through, just hearing about me or seeing me on social media or hearing me speak somewhere, that surely we would welcome them in. But I wasn't going to do all of the extra things that come along with entrepreneurship, with launching programs and lead gen and all of the above, normal stuff that you have to do. And so I just decided to not create any new programs, to not launch any programs actively, and just really work on loving those that were in my community, taking really good care of my family, taking more care of myself, and also just having a lot of time to think and reflect about what I was doing. And I hadn't had an opportunity to do that because the pedal was my foot was pushed all the way down. And so easing up a bit, it just allowed me to have a clear mind, realize that, maybe doing things a little differently moving forward is what's going to be best for me. Not that what I was doing wasn't working. I just don't know if it was all necessary. And so really honing in on that, and then everything that I say all the time, but really doubling down on what's going to work for me. Just like with your weight loss or your body composition journey, it's not like your sisters or your mothers or your best friends. The same with building your business. It's not going to look just like your business coaches or your business bestie or other entrepreneurs, and that's okay. You don't have to be in the constant grinding and hustling and growing and scaling and all of the things that we focus in on as entrepreneurs. It's okay to maintain. It's okay to put your family first. It's okay to put your mental health first. It's honestly okay if you make a little less money. It's all okay. And we don't talk about that because everyone you see is grinding, hustling, saying they're not grinding and hustling and promoting that, but really grinding and hustling behind the scenes. And, you just kind of see this and you get caught up in this lifestyle sometimes. And so I think it is like so important to even pull back for yourself, take yourself out of it all, reflect. And you can't do that when you're investing thousands and thousands of dollars into masterminds and coaching, because you're going to be all in. If you're making, 10K plus, investments in masterminds, you're not going to be like, oh, here's the money and I'm going to check out for a year. Like, you're going to want to show up, take the calls, attend the meetings, do the work, grow the brand, grow the business, which is great. But I think there's a season for that. And there's also a season for maintenance.
Mm-hmm. And like we said, with the metabolic maintenance, it's a great place to be.
A great place to be in. And
Yeah.
you can have more clarity and you can reflect and you can decide what you want to do moving forward. And you may even have some breakthroughs on how you want to proceed, what worked well, what wasn't really working well that you thought was. How do you want to show up? How is this new version of business going to look for you? And so it's been a really cool experience. I mean, sure, it's been really scary too, and a lot of growing moments, just like with anything new that you step into. But I'm a big believer, regardless of if you're working on your health or fitness or growing your business or brand, like step into that discomfort. And discomfort isn't going to always look the same for all of us, depending on our season of life, but step into it. There's many ways you could have a new start, new relationships, closing old doors, moving to new countries or new cities, starting new jobs or careers. I think that there's a lot that's going to force us to go into different seasons, and that's okay. And just being able to lean into that. And that was a big focus for me this past year.
Yeah. So what are you looking forward to now? I mean, would you say you do have a little bit more stability with where you live and you're kind of ready to dive back in?
Yeah. So I would say for sure now, I've had 18 months to just really chill out, focus in on all the things I've mentioned. The rest was great, needed to just get my feet under me, having a big move. But yeah, I'm ready to go again. I'm feeling really great on an energetic level. I feel very focused. I've cleaned up shop in the behind the scenes business land. And throughout the year, I had enough clarity to really create a brand new program to really support women in a group coaching container where they can truly get sustainable results, but also have a lot of support and guidance. And so I've really been able to craft that. And I'm so excited. I've done, similar things in the past, but never something quite like this. And so I don't think that I would have been able to do this if I did not have the break. I don't think I would have had the mental space and clarity to just have the space to think about what I wanted to do and how that should look.
Right. Well, it's so exciting. And the wait list is open right now, right? For the Sustainable Weight Loss 8-week the group coaching program.
Yes, the wait list is open. So the wait list I've had going for a while, just for women that are interested. They want to learn more. It's not a buy now list. It's just a, hey, I'm interested. I'd like to learn more about what you do. This program sounds really interesting to me. I need help with this. And so the wait list is just going to allow you to stay informed. The program's going to be launching in January, and you'll learn all about it. And if it's a good fit, it's a great opportunity to get bonuses, discounts, and all of those goodies too.
Yeah, amazing. Well, we'll definitely link the wait list so people who are interested can jump on in.
Well, thank you so much. And this has been such an amazing conversation with you.
I'm so happy to know you, and I'm so excited for this program and what's next for you in Florida. So great.
Thank you. It's been such a joy being on your show. Thanks a lot for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation, and it was just great to talk about all of these amazing things. So thanks for having me on.
Of course. All right. Talk to you soon.
Okay. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. And if there was a part where you felt that you learned something, that you had an aha moment, I want to hear about it. Feel free to send me a DM on Instagram or on LinkedIn, or even send me an email. I always love to hear from you. As usual, I appreciate you listening, and catch you in the next episode.